What's up, everyone? So I was watching First Take on ESPN this morning, and Stephen A. Smith, along with the entire panel, had this absolutely brutal segment breaking down how the Las Vegas Raiders just hit complete rock bottom after losing a blowout game to the Kansas City Chiefs. The discussion centered around what's next for the Silver and Black's quarterback situation and what the coaching staff has to do to get this team anywhere near what everyone thought they would be coming out of the offseason. Stephen A. was not holding back at all, calling it a rough loss that was honestly embarrassing for the entire league to witness. The panel started by acknowledging there was absolutely nothing positive about this game whatsoever. It was an honest embarrassment that the whole NFL world saw, revealing what the Raiders actually are as a football team right now. Now they know Las Vegas was playing the Chiefs, who are one of the best teams in the league and currently in the middle of a dynasty run. But Stephen A. kept pointing at that final score of 31-0. It's something you genuinely don't see very often in the NFL, where a team doesn't score a single point in an entire game. The Raiders were coming off of a win against the Titans the previous week, so you would think they would have had something more up their sleeve offensively. But clearly, they did not come prepared at all. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we dive into everything I have for you today, I need to ask you something that takes literally 1 second but makes a massive impact. That like button right there, hitting it right now, would help me more than you could imagine. I know you're eager to get into all this content, but real quick, just smash that like button. It's such a simple thing, but it's honestly the biggest way you can support this channel and help us reach more fans who are hungry for this kind of content. Trust me, every single like pushes this video to more people, so do me that quick favor right now. The lackluster quarterback play from Geno Smith continues to be a massive problem, and honestly, it looks like the team has absolutely no confidence in him anymore. Stephen A. said he doesn't even know if Smith has any confidence in himself at this point. Geno only attempted 16 passes with 10 completions, which is actually a decent completion percentage, but it only amounted to a pathetic 67 passing yards total. That's nowhere near acceptable production from your starting quarterback. Smith didn't throw an interception, which the panel joked was maybe a positive, but that's being extremely glass half full about a terrible performance. 67 yards is not enough production to even give your team a chance to win. Smith played so poorly that viewers even got to see Kenny Pickett enter the game, and his appearance was a complete microcosm for the entire season, according to the First Take crew. Kenny Pickett literally fumbled the snap on his very first play when he finally got his chance. Stephen A. said he actually cheered when Pickett initially got into the game, then immediately started laughing because that perfectly represents what this Raiders season has become. Turnovers, embarrassing losses, and being one of the absolute worst teams in the entire league. The panel was putting a significant amount of blame on Geno Smith's shoulders. He was supposed to come in and fix everything at the quarterback position after Russell Wilson left, and he's not doing any of that. But Stephen A. was also putting a ton of blame on the coaching staff, and specifically on Pete Carroll, arguing that not enough changes are being made to address the obvious problem. This is the same kind of dysfunction the show has been discussing for weeks, dating back to weeks 2, 3, and 4. Things are not getting better. They're actually getting progressively worse. It really feels like Pete Carroll might be out of touch with modern NFL football. He's the oldest head coach in the entire league, and the panel was questioning whether the Raiders should have even brought him in. Carroll seemed like a different direction from the last time they made a coaching hire with Antonio Pierce, who was more of a player's coach. The organization wanted to get a proven winning coach, but Carroll is not winning games. This is going to end up being one of Pete Carroll's worst seasons in his entire coaching career, and unfortunately, that's what he signed up for when he took this job. This is the reality he's dealing with now. It seems like every single decision this coaching staff and front office regime has made has been questionable at best, and those poor decisions show up both on and off the field. In this particular game against Kansas City, you can see the complete dysfunction just from looking at the basic statistics. The Raiders genuinely didn't look like an NFL-caliber team. They didn't even break 100 total yards of offense, while the Chiefs racked up 434 yards. Las Vegas had one turnover, which was that fumbled snap by Kenny Pickett that gave the ball right back to Kansas City. The Raiders managed only 3 first downs compared to Kansas City's 30 first down. The Chiefs got literally 10 times the amount of first down, which is absolutely unbelievable and unacceptable. The Raiders committed a lot of penalties, showing they look completely undisciplined under this coaching staff. The panel made it clear they weren't going to get into the whole narrative about referees favoring the Chiefs, because that doesn't matter and is not the real problem with this game. Las Vegas had 0 third down conversions and 0 fourth down conversion. They went 0 for 0 in the red zone because they literally never made it to the red zone even once. Stephen A. asked, "How do you play an entire NFL game and not make it into the red zone a single time?" Looking at time of possession, the Raiders had the ball for almost 18 minutes, which didn't feel that long but represents a long 18 minutes to accomplish effectively nothing offensively. The situation is only going to get worse moving forward. The Chiefs are in the Raiders division, so Las Vegas has to game plan for this team twice every single season. Rashee Rice, on his return from injury, went off against the Raiders' defense. It didn't look like Las Vegas had any answers for him whatsoever, and it appeared like Kansas City was specifically trying to get Rice back in rhythm after missing time. Rice had a fantastic game. On the defensive side of the ball, you can't really evaluate much when your offense can't put up even 100 yards. The Chiefs' defense is going to look fantastic no matter what when facing that level of ineptitude. Raiders fans saw a lot of special teams action during this game, getting to watch punter A.J. Cole punt the ball repeatedly. The panel joked that Cole is a great punter, but you don't want to see him on the field constantly because that means your offense is getting absolutely nothing going. There wasn't much production at all from running back Zamir White. Of course, both Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers were out with injuries, so the panel knew the Raiders' offense was going to struggle, but nobody expected it would be completely non-existent. Playing against Patrick Mahomes, you kind of expect great things and great plays from him, and Mahomes absolutely put on a show. The Chiefs took him out of the game at the end of the third quarter with the score 31-0. It's always embarrassing when the opposing team can sit their starting quarterback for an entire quarter, and it shows how much the Chiefs knew they had this game completely won. Kansas City brought in backup Gardner Minshew, and Stephen A. called it the revenge quarter since Minshew was on the Raiders last season. He didn't do much and barely got to pass the ball, but it must have felt satisfying for him. Then about 7 minutes later, Kenny Pickett came into the game for Las Vegas. The First Take crew was saying that at the start of the fourth quarter, they couldn't believe Geno Smith was still in the game. They're completely over Geno Smith. He's not throwing long passes anymore. He looks completely done as a starting quarterback. He doesn't look like an NFL-caliber quarterback at this point, and honestly, doesn't even look like a quality backup option. During most of the early window games that Sunday, a lot of starting quarterbacks were going down with injuries, and backup quarterbacks were coming in and looking significantly better than Geno Smith is performing right now. And of course, the Raiders' backup turning over the ball on a fumbled snap is something you can only expect from this dysfunctional team. The panel honestly doesn't even know where this team goes from here. They have the bye week coming up, then hopefully they can get Brock Bowers back healthy before facing the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars also had a rough game against the Rams in London, but at least Jacksonville put points on the board, and it wasn't as embarrassing as this Raiders performance. Matthew Stafford threw 5 touchdowns against the Jags defense. But Raiders versus Jaguars coming up, who knows what will happen? The Jaguars are probably going to use it as a get-right game to bounce back. The First Take panel doesn't know what the Raiders are going to do, whether they're going to trade Jacoby Myers or what's legitimately next for this franchise. Are they already looking ahead towards next season? Because it's only week 7, and there's a whole lot of watching, a whole lot of losing, and a whole lot of waiting to get through before the offseason arrives, or before the Raiders hopefully do anything substantive to fix this team. Stephen A. mentioned he saw something right before the show that really drove home how bad things are. The Chiefs' official social media account posted after the game saying, "GG Raiders, see you in Week 18. You know it's absolutely terrible when your opponent makes what feels like a pity post." The Chiefs are literally pitying the Raiders because they destroyed them 31-0. Especially when your divisional opponent and arguably one of your biggest rivals is telling you "good game" after you laid a complete egg with less than 100 yards and 0 points. It's genuinely sad. The Chiefs have way more important things to be focused on than thinking about the Raiders in Week 18. You can almost assume Kansas City's starters aren't even going to be playing in that final game. In Week 18, the Chiefs are going to be thinking about playoff seeding and positioning, while in Week 18, it might be the 10th consecutive week that the Raiders and their fans are thinking about what they're going to do in the upcoming draft. This is legitimately bad for the franchise. The panel thought some of the losses over the last few weeks were tough to watch, but this game was just completely devoid of any excitement whatsoever. They really don't know where the team goes from here moving forward, but Stephen A. wrapped up by saying, "Wherever the Raiders go from here, the show will continue following and covering this team." It's a brutal situation for Raiders fans to have to endure, and the entire First Take panel felt for that fan base having to watch this level of dysfunction week after week.